working slowly to get a computer lab installed here for our victims of domestic violence. So a lot of them come to us where they don't have a lot of job experience. They weren't allowed to work. And there's not a lot of employment history there. So we were looking for a way to try to make them more employable and to be a better fit for the community that will both benefit the community and benefit the victims. So I was lucky enough to hook up with Andrew through one of our board members. And since then we've started a road, and we now have 3 computers, all-in-ones in our computer lab. And the women are in there nonstop. They are doing their resumes, they are looking for housing, they are just so tickled, and it was exactly what I wanted to see because it's helping them so much.
And that's without us actually moving it to the next step, which is where we actually start training them and then get them certified. So that, and you'll see the software that we put on there is self-paced learning right now that they can use, and they probably aren't using it that much because they're doing other things. But as we progress, the whole idea is going to be there's a pre-assessment which we've started doing. So we've assessed the population that is going through here as to what their skill level is in terms of digital literacy, and then from there it will be they'll get certified in Office, basically Microsoft Office, which is the curriculum that we put on there, and get tested, and then they'll get a certificate that I'm authorized by Microsoft to issue to them once they pass the final exam, which is what we did at the Cook County Boot Camp and what we do, in other kind of community training centers that we have. So that's it. And plus, if we're successful with the Department of Children and Family Services grant, they will get a computer that they take home when they leave, and find permanent or, the next level of residence when they move out of the transitional housing.
Which is big for them too, because there's not many clients that, have the capability of one, purchasing a computer. And then they have, the second step where they have to worry about the expense of the internet and things like that. So, but there's some.
They're eligible for $10 a month for the internet. They probably meet all the eligibility requirements. That's subsidized, high-speed internet that both cable as well as CenturyLink are obligated by the Federal Communications Commission to provide them. So we can work all of that out as we get going. I mean, it's what we have in place. It's a national program, so.
We're also looking at putting a couple of computers in there also for the school-age children, and to try to give them the opportunity for a lot of what they do in school now is they have the teachers have sites where you can go on to get help with your schoolwork and things like that. So we're kind of excited to, hopefully we'll get this grant from DCF to try to get that up and going too.
And we've talked, because I'll show you what we're doing over at St. Thomas Aquinas in a few minutes, but we've talked to them and they're more than eager to actually provide mentoring. It doesn't matter where. If the kids want to go over there, they can almost walk down to St. Thomas Aquinas, or they can come here, but you have to go through all the security and the confidentiality if you're going to get volunteers. But that's not just an option, that's a desire that they would have. In fact, they put that in the Peshtigo Times that they wanted to work with the Rainbow House.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Is that coming out today?
It was the one that already came out. Did I send you that or not?
No,
I didn't. I'll do it when I get over there and go online. In fact, I have a copy of it in the car. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Before we go in the lab. That way you can see it. But I'll send you the PDF file that I made.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've already experienced some successes where a resident here has utilized the computers and has refreshed some skills or cultivated some skills and ultimately secured some sort of office job or software.
No, we actually don't have the Microsoft Office program part of it up and running yet. The only thing they've been using the computers for is to send out their resumes, and we have had some success in them getting employment through that,
Good.
and looking for housing. We also get the newspaper here, so look for that, but it's a lot more, they just like it a lot
Right.
better to be doing it online. And they're opening up email accounts so that when they do take their application someplace, if they're responding via email, that they actually have an email address and that they can check it.
What do you think?
So those are big steps forward for these residents. I mean, to shoulder some things that they weren't allowed to shoulder previously. That's great.
What is the average stay time here before they move on?
Well, prior to about a year ago, the average stay was, we'd like to see them on their way in about 30 days being self-sufficient housing, employment. Unfortunately, in the last year, we've run into, with our economy, a lot of barriers to that. Our rental rates have been pushed up in the area a lot because of all the extra jobs, people coming in from outside the area, like Marriott Marine, things like that. So rental rates have really gone up, whereas they can get on a housing program, but if they can't find a place that fits in the rental budget amounts, you're not going to get a place.
The reason I ask is because I was wondering about the feasibility of having learning software on there for like Office if their stay is only like 30 or 40 days or whatever it is. It'd be more important to have that capability once they are going with their own computer, to have that accessible so that they can continue to advance their skills.
We can put it on the computers that they take away. You want to explain how many clients you serve typically in a year?
How many?
Yes.
Are we just strictly talking in shelter or out of shelter?
Well, you can do both because they don't know that you've got a second location, which is in a Conto, and that'll give them a broader perspective of like where we're going with the success of this DCF grant. If it comes through, we expect it will. In other words, we're expanding the program now to have 2 locations, but I don't want to take your thunder here.
We have an outreach office in Oconto. We serve Oconto, Marinette, and Menominee counties, Menominee being Michigan. So we serve about 400 and some clients per year. That's in shelter and out of shelter. Obviously, they only come into shelter when it's the last resort. If they can go stay with family or friends or things like that, it's just much more convenient for them to do that.
And the children, we have about, is that in the 400? Or that's just the adult population?
Adult clients,
right.
yeah.
That's what I thought.
I just said the Menominee County alone's count was 10 children last year. So I would say about 40 children.
No.
Are some of those outside the facility coming in to use the computer systems to find work and
Do you need
things?
my computer at all?
The outreach clients,
Yeah.
yes, we've had a couple that stay after support group and go and utilize what's in there.
And that's the plan for a Conto because we haven't put anything in yet there. So that would be not where they would be in a shelter like this with transitional housing, but they would actually be there, on like a basis where they would come in for any kind of advocacy work that they would be doing with the council. And that was the girl that just left, is headed probably to a Conto. Is that where Nicole is headed?
No, she was there yesterday. She has some court stuff today.
And they would anyway. They'd be able to use the computer system that we would put in there and print the things that they need to print out.
For the clients that receive computers and get their own place, they can take that curriculum with them from their internet address.
Well, no, the curriculum will be on the hard drive, which you'll see when we go in there. We put it all
It
on
wouldn't
the
be
hard
online.
drive.
It would be.
Well, there are things that we put online, and we can give them links that they
Yeah.
can go online, including video tutorials. So we have all of that curriculum there. In fact, some have indicated here when we did the initial assessment that they were interested in learning how to do web development and doing other things that would actually make them more professional, or graphics, the kind of work that Carol Burns does. And you can see how we're tying Carol back in,
Yeah.
which is from the communication department at Marquette, back into this from distance learning, where she could actually be broadcasting, if you will, a session out of, and Trish has a good sense of like Milwaukee, and she goes up to watch the Brewers sometimes. but basically, Carol Burns is the techie that came out of the communication department, working with all the Mac computers that are there to a large extent, and she's certified by Apple, and so she does graphic arts and newsletters. Really excellent work, very professional. And her son is a high performing Asperger's. A child with some learning disabilities, and he's in his 20s. And so she's set up in the Grand Avenue Mall on Wisconsin, downtown. She has a place that they gave her. They pay some rent for it, but it's a modest amount. Kind of like a technology shop with Mac computers that will be doing graphic arts and using alumni that come out of the communication department that need to do some temporary work out of there, like an incubator for students that don't have a job, that are now graduates and can't find any work. Now they can go to this incubator where all of the equipment is there for them to do freelancing. But out of there, we're tying her in to the art department over at St. Thomas Aquinas, because we put in Max in the art department. And so the idea is she can do distance learning from Milwaukee, which we've talked about with Trish here. So for people that want to go on a career path, which is the objective ultimately, let's see if we can put some of them, maybe 10% on a career path. We have the ability now to maximize the potential of the infrastructure that we put out, which is a long way of telling you. But he and I are on a task force at Marquette that deals with this whole, what do we do with this inventory? Not just how do we get it out of Marquette cost effectively, but then what do we do with it afterwards? And more importantly, what's the impact afterwards? So that's why we wanted to do this today.
Okay.
While he's here, because he really sees the impact of the equipment that we were working on, and he knows what the problems are. He's in the purchasing department, and Greg is the one that I work with the most, pretty much.
Can I see the lab?
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be great.